Pursuit is one of the many skills introduced in Fire Emblem Genealogy of the Holy War. It essentially serves as a replacement for traditional double attacks in this game, as in Fire Emblem 4, as we all know, units can only double attack if they have the Pursuit skill. So regardless of how much faster you are than the enemy, you won't be able to double attack them unless you have this skill. After its debut, unlike some of the other skills introduced in Fire Emblem 4, Pursuit remained MIA after its introduction. Some may argue that this is because on a conceptual level, the skill was flawed due to how it skews the game's balance in favour of those who have it. However, as a certified cargo glazer, it is my holy duty to prove these haters wrong by seeing if it's possible to beat Fire Emblem Genealogy of the Holy War without the Pursuit skill. I should probably set out the foundations for this challenge before I begin. Number 1, I can only use characters without the Pursuit skill. If a character with Pursuit enters combat whilst they're under play control, it's an automatic game over and I end the run there and then. Number 2, I can still use Sigurd to seize castles, as otherwise we wouldn't be able to progress through the game and this video would only be 5 minutes long, and that would just suck for my watch hours. And number 3, I can enter conversations on the map with units that have the Pursuit skill, as long as said units stay out of combat. With the rules set in place, we can start off our journey into the game's prologue chapter. Right off the bat we're at a huge disadvantage. The best unit in the game / main lord, Sigurd, is unavailable for us to use, meaning we can't use his insanely good stats or his leadership stars. We also can't use Alec, who's my preferred Christmas Cavalier in this game due to the fact that he's the only one out the two who actually knows how to swing a sword twice. But unfortunately here, that very reason is why he's indefinitely out of commission for the duration of this run. And so, the only 2 starring characters we can actually use are Arden, an armor knight with bad movement in a game with huge maps, whose only skill is Vantage, which only triggers if the user is at half HP or less. And with that massive HP and defense stat that Arden comes packing with that base, it's extraordinarily unlikely that we'll be getting any use out of this skill this playthrough. And Noish, who's my most hated Fire Emblem unit of all time. Why? Well, it's simple. It's because he has no personality, he has no pursuit, and he's in competition with half of the cast of Gen 1 for all the actual good swords that he wants to have access to. But since the only other sword user in our army is currently Arden, he shouldn't have that issue during this run. It's only the first turn of the map, and we're already feeling the effects of not having Sigurd around, as without his leadership stars, the Duke of Disappointment, Noish, gets hit with a 46% on his first round of combat, followed by a 36% during the enemy phase. Also during the enemy phase, Midir gets hit by a critical hit from an enemy who doesn't have the critical skill in-game, because of course he does. And then at the start of turn 2, we get reinforcements in the form of Azel, our first magic user of the game who, guess what, has Pursuit and is thus illegal for us to use, and Lex, who joins with the Paragon skill and is our first actually good unit. We remain close to the home castle since we don't have the manpower to just plow through enemies like normal, and Arden manages to dodge both a 55% and a 75% during the same enemy phase. Meanwhile, Lex is getting given a hard time up north since he doesn't have a Zell backing him up, but he's still holding up fine enough for now. During the start of turn 3, the Cavalry arrive. Literally. We get 3 of my favourite mounted units in this game. Quan, who's a bulky pre-promote with the Adept skill, Ethlyn, who's a mounted healer in Horse Emblem, and Finn, who is quite literally my favourite Fire Emblem character of all time, and is also my profile picture. But unfortunately, he's the only one out of the 3 who has the Pursuit skill, so he'll be getting left behind in this run. Lex manages to sneak a kill on a bandit with exact damage, and I decide to hurry up and visit the house so he can dip before he gets swarmed. And Quan provides useful chip as Arden continues his march of destruction towards the enemy castle. It's important to mention that now that we have good units, we can actually move towards the speedrun village before it gets destroyed. Lex starts to get swarmed like I feared and is one singular touch away from death, and so he has to retreat. However, the way back is crowded with bandits, so our attention is diverted a bit, and luckily for us, Quan helps to clear a path by proccing Adept like the true bro he is, and manages to make our life a bit easier. Lex manages to get a kill as well as a single mediocre level up, and he barely manages to canter out to safety as he lands exactly 1 tile away from enemy range. Quan manages to tank a hit, and a nearby hand axe bandit decides to attack Ethlyn, who has a 6% chance of hitting, rather than Quan, who he has weapon triangle advantage over. But hey, I guess these guys are bandits for a reason. The villagers continue to scream for mercy as their homes are being burnt down, and I do my best impression to care, since I don't really have the time to save them all, and I really want that speed ring. Arden becomes our certified dodge tank and gets in some nice chip, whilst Quan manages to safely secure the kill. Lex then finally receives the immediate first aid treatment that he needed like 2 turns ago, and we can go back to rushing towards the speedring village. 2 bandits then proceed to aim for Ethlyn, who they have a 20% chance of hitting, and lo and behold, they miss. Their idiocy is very much pitiable. But alas, we keep moving forward at their expense. Arden gets the jump on one of them, and Quan chips and counters away the other. But oops, it turns out the bandit autism is contagious, and I just cantoed Quan in range of 3 axe users, who could probably kill him if all 3 of them land, which they probably will due to the aforementioned weapon triangle advantage. And if Quan dies, Ethlyn also leaves the party, so it would essentially be a double kill. Thus, the neglected nobody Noish manages to make his first contribution to the army, as he uses his face as a meat shield and unfortunately survives. Following this high, Noish manages to get a kill and then proceeds to proc a level up which he wastes by not gaining anything useful. Whereas Quan manages to swipe a kill with a javelin whilst he retreats and earns himself a respectable strength level. Arden continues to dodge tank like the beautiful hunk of a man he is, and Lex manages to get another kill alongside a level, where he gains exactly 1 point in both skill and speed, so it's most definitely a good day to be a Lex fan. A bandit once again aims for Ethlyn, since they've learnt the hard way that Arden's manly musk just deflects the bullets right off him, and lo and behold, more misses. 2 turns remain to save the speedring village as we arrive on its doorstep, but Quan has some unfortunate accuracy issues which delays our offensive by 1 turn. The bandits finally target Quan, who retaliates by 1-rounding them with Adept, and then leveling speed. And then right after seeing his buddy get destroyed by Quan, another bandit decides to target Ethlyn instead, and he gambles for 5%. It did not work, and it never will. The clock ticks for the speedring village as only 1 turn is left before it gets fully destroyed. And then, that's when the impossible happened for the 2nd time this chapter. The certified loser known as Noish manages to finally proc his charge skill for the first time in this entire run. And he manages to attack twice in 1 singular round of combat. A crazy high level feat, I know. Ethlyn then manages to seal the deal and finish off the bandit, and Quan goes into chip with a javelin and misses a 92%, but I pretend that didn't happen as I give him ownership of the speed ring. For those of you curious as to why I chose Quan for the speed ring specifically, his adept skill is attack speed dependent, so more speed equals more attack speed, which thus means more adept procs. I'm a genius, I know. Quan immediately proves my decision to be correct, and puts the speed ring to good use as he manages to dodge a 40% and then proc adept on the counter attack. Arden continues to dodge tank, and we can afford to slow down with our pace since we got our precious speed ring obtained. Ethlyn triggers a lover's crit by standing next to Quan, and manages to steal a kill for herself. And the deadweight blonde known as Noish manages to balance out this good RNG by getting a blank level up. With the speedring village obtained, the only obstacle left directly in our path is the enemy castle. Quan suffers some damage but manages to counter with Adept, proving that once again, I am a genius. Meanwhile, some bandits finish off silencing the villagers who we were too slow to save. Woe is them, but they only gave us money and no actual useful items, so it's whatever. We proceed to close in on the enemies surrounding the boss, whilst Arden continues to dodge tank the same bandit for like 3 turns in a row. This man has dodged more attacks than he's tanked. My guy definitely picked the wrong profession for his career. He was born to dodge tank as a Myrmidon, but he was forced to be a regular tank as an Armor Knight. And to further my comedy, Arden continues his duty of dodge tanking every enemy he sees, and gains a level. And guess what? My guy levels up speed. The simpleton known as Noish follows suit and gains a level, which netted him exactly only 1 point of strength. But that's technically an improvement from the blank level from last time, so whatever. And Quan manages to also get a level, making it the 3rd level up in this 1 singular turn. And he manages to gain HP, strength, and skill, which is nice. We begin throwing random shots at the boss, and Quan proceeds to land a 52% and then procs Adept but misses. But hey, any chip is good chip. Auden and co proceed to get revenge for the villagers we didn't bother saving, as Quan continues to gamble javelin hits for easy chip. With some lucky hits landing, Lex manages to kill the boss and gets a nice level up in skill. But more importantly, Jungbi is seized, and we get ourselves a new unit, Madur, who's a bow knight with a wimpy portrait who has pursuit, and is thus irrelevant to us. So off to the bench he goes. For reasons beyond our limited mental capacity, the bandits decide to bring up the once broken bridge, and they start their advance towards us. But they're not the only one with reinforcements, as Arvis appears with Valflame from up north, and will approach Sigurd to give us a free silver sword. What a good Samaritan. In typical idiot fashion, Noish gets hit by a 38%, and the stupidity is clearly contagious as Quan manages to miss an 82 with a javelin. Lex manages to dodge two 72%, which would have costed him his life if they both connected, earning himself a level. And then we gradually picked off enemies as we retreated towards Jungbi. Auden proceeds to both dodge tank and regular tank the enemy, but he seems to siphon all of his good luck from Noish, as the failure himself gets hit by another 38%. We trap and then feed an enemy archer to Auden, who rightfully deserves the EXP after his contributions to the army, and he then proceeds to do his best Noish impression as he then rewards our faith with an empty level up. Sigurd receives the silver sword from Arvis, which is seemingly useless as we have no one else in our army who has an A rank in swords. Is what I would say if it wasn't for my favourite troubadour in Fire Emblem. It turns out Ethlin has A rank swords for some reason, and thus now becomes the new wielder of Sigurd's silver sword, and the freshly impoverished Noish takes Ethlin's old slim sword. As we approach the bridge, the experienced leech known as Noish gets hit by a 28%. This isn't exactly vital information, but I thought I'd just let you know. Quan initially blocks the bridge as the rest of the army gets into position, and then he decides to scare us by proccing Adept and overexposing himself to more enemies. But thankfully he survives because the AI in this game is unintelligent to say the least. After that scare, Quan loses permission to block the bridge, and Auden more than gladly takes up the role of human barricade. One thing that people don't appreciate about Armor Knights is that they're essentially the medieval equivalent of a slow moving tank, meaning choke points like this are nothing to Auden. After being insulted for half an hour, Noish decides to proc a cost to help him set up a kill for Lex, who then gets a crap level from it, and then after this one piece of useful chip, the foolish ignoramus himself got too excited and decided to proc a cost again when I was trying to set up a kill for a unit that I actually like. And to top it all off, he only managed to get a +1 to HP from the kill that he stole. Even when this man technically contributes to the army, he still doesn't. With that side, the only enemy left is yet again the boss, who we shamelessly boss abuse for about a good 10 minutes, before Ethlin accidentally gets a lover's grip and puts him out of his misery. After this, the castle was seized, and we finally managed to finish the prologue chapter of this game after who knows how long. If you've stuck around this far, I hope you enjoyed and thanks a bunch. Part 2 should be coming out sometime between the release of this video and the birth of my firstborn child, so look forward to that, and I'll see you guys later in the next one.